Hello, internet strangers.
Hey everyone, Ethan is here with me again. We wanted to do another married and med school vlog. So we're going to be talking about just what it's been like in the second year, and at the end of second year was step one, and so Ethan's going to kind of talk about that as well.
Yeah, so I remember for the first video I said first year was busy, and that's true. I think the overused analogy is that medical school is like drinking from a fire hose. And that's a fair description for first year. Second year is more like drinking from several fire hoses that are kind of shoved down your throat and then you're thrown in the middle of a lake. It started off pretty crazy and continued to get crazier. I felt like through the spring. And then I think we kind of found a rhythm. And it got better.
At the end of the year?
Yeah, at the end of the year. And then finals happened, and it got crazy again, and then step one happened, so that was more craziness. But overall, I enjoyed it more than first year. Looking back on first year, there was a lot of time that I had that I didn't know I had. There was a lot of... I just didn't study as efficiently, I think, in first year as I did in second year. And that's just part of the learning process. First year, I went to classes pretty religiously, and then I had my study routine when I came home, and that was fine, that was good, and it got us through the first year. Second year I just stopped going to classes. I didn't bother with that. I ended up, our school records lectures, so I was able to watch them from home, and that allowed me to sort of get an earlier start in the day, so I'd watch the lectures in the morning
For the previous
day, and then study those lectures, make flashcards, spend the rest of the day doing fairly boring bookwork stuff, and just getting any miscellaneous tasks done. And again, I tried to be done by 6, kind of like first year, and I try to keep my weekends free, which is also nice, like first year.
I feel like for this year, you pretty much, like, every day you were done about 6, but you weren't, like, finished with everything that you could have gotten done. Like, you just pretty much was like, okay, I'm just done for the day, because...
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I tried to get through what I needed to. There's always more to do. But part of, I guess, just having a family in medical school is just knowing when to stop things.
Which we appreciated.
Which, I don't know that I always did well, but tried. But anyway. But yeah, but overall it was good. The second year, it was more about, first year was more normal, more physiology, getting everybody kind of up to speed. Second year was more stuff that we're kind of going to be using for the rest of our lives. It was more pathology, more here's what's wrong, how do you treat it kind of a thing. Kind of getting us set up for third year, where supposedly the first 2 years don't matter and we kind of learn real medicine. We'll see what that means. But I enjoyed it. It was good. It was nice to be at home more, kind of be able to control my own schedule. That was honestly something I wish I'd taken advantage of more first year, was just sort of staying at home watching lectures, and that allows you... It's not like I was lounging around. I mean, I was busy, but I was able to kind of dictate my busyness, if that makes sense, and that goes a long way in terms of keeping your sanity.
Well, and I especially feel like I didn't feel the busyness as much, because since you were able to get... I mean, I guess if you were going to classes at school, then I probably would have felt busyness a little bit more, because you were able to get up earlier and start lectures at, I don't know, whatever you start at 5:30 or 6 as opposed to like 8:30. That made a huge difference in allowing you to even get done by 6. Otherwise, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, I think
you wouldn't have been done.
I think I found out pretty quickly to get through the amount of material that they were throwing at us, and still be done at a reasonable hour. I had to get started earlier in the day. Which was a bummer. But it is what it is. And there was for a little while there, I was getting up pretty early, and
sometimes I feel like you got up at 4:30.
And that got old fast. And then Shay was like, "Don't do that," which was good for my sanity. So I pushed things back a little bit, but yeah.
I don't know. It's honestly hard for me to kind of remember back to the first half of the year, just because Corin, if you've watched any of my other vlogs, Corin was a horrible, horrible sleeper the first year, and that really took its toll on both of us, but especially me, because I was getting up constantly during the night and feeding him and just trying to get him to sleep. So I feel like this year was made considerably harder just because Corin refused to sleep.
Thankfully, he's sleeping better now. But
Yeah, I think it was about March of this year, so a little bit before he turned 1, that he actually started sleeping through the night, and things started getting a little bit better. But up to that point, I feel like this year was really, really hard with Ethan's school, but at the same time, I think it was mostly because, well, not mostly because, but partly because of Corin's lack of sleep, leaving me exhausted, and Ethan was exhausted, and everyone was exhausted, and that just doesn't make for a fun.
Was there anything looking back at this last year and the Step 1 study period, even though we haven't really talked about that in the video yet, that you would wish that I had done differently, or wish that we'd done differently?
No, I really loved that you were home all the time. That being said, I know we talked about this before, but sometimes it was really frustrating because you would be here but not available to help, especially during those times where I was just extremely exhausted and Corin was being fussy all the time, and that part was frustrating, but I'd still rather have you home than away at school. Was there anything that you thought I could have done or did do to make things easier?
No, I mean, I just love having you guys around and being home. The nice thing about being home was I wasn't able to, get away from my schoolwork that much, but it was nice to be able to take 10-minute breaks here and there.
Yeah. I think that made a huge difference, especially as Corin got older. He loved seeing his daddy.
Yeah, it's just nice to be able to take a few breaks throughout the day and play with Corin and hang out with you for a few minutes, even though it's not, ideal, like hours together. But
yeah, well, and it's even been just since he's been home. He'll watch Corin in the morning while I take a shower or something. Just little things where he will just kind of keep an eye on Corin while he's playing or something. That was really, really helpful to me. It'll be interesting to kind of see how third year goes since you're going to be gone all the time. But.
Yeah, the bummer part about third year, it will be the control over the schedule that I was talking about will be completely gone. So it'll be gone a lot more. It'll be busier.
Yeah.
And I'll have much less say about when I'm busy, which will be unfortunate. But I think it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how you like things and whatnot.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the different specialties.
So how about step 1? Why don't you talk about step 1? If you want to relive that.
Yeah, so I took a 5-week study period for step 1 that started basically right after finals. We had, I think, a 3-day weekend, and just to kind of relax and refresh a little bit for that step 1 study dedicated period. And
so some people
dove right in. Yeah, I think like 4 to 6 is probably average. I felt like 6 was too long. 4 was a little bit maybe too short for this test that potentially is one of the more important tests we take ever. 5 weeks is about right, and I'm glad I took 5 weeks. It gave us, for at least our school, it gave us 3 weeks afterwards just to kind of hang out, which has been awesome. We're kind of nearing the tail end of that now. Third year starts in a couple of days, but it was, I think that was a good length.
Yeah.
It was busy.
That was, like, as year 1 went by, I thought, oh man, that's busy. Year 2, that was busy. Step 1, your step 1 studying was nothing in comparison to the rest. It was incredibly difficult. Like, you woke up, I think you usually worked out like 4 days a week or something, but so basically you'd wake up, you'd start studying about 8, and you'd pretty much not stop until, at least 10:30 at night, aside from like an hour break where we'd have dinner and you'd play with Corin and we'd get him to bed and whatnot. But that was incredibly, incredibly hard. The first week was really, really hard. It was quite the adjustment. By the second and third week, I felt like we'd kind of gotten in a rhythm, but by the 4th week, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this to be done.
Yeah.
It was definitely not fun, and I know from my perspective, it was just hard because I mean, he still helped with Corin at night, and he would still keep an eye on Corin like when I took a shower in the morning, but other than that, pretty much, aside from a few minutes here and there, I was on my own with him, and it was really, really hard. And Ethan did study at home, but as opposed during second year, he kind of studied out in the living room, which is kind of Corin's domain. We have a really small house, so that's where Corin played. But we kind of thought it would be easier if Corin or if Ethan, hid out in the bedroom, which I thought worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it was nice to be at home, but I was still was able to hide away a little bit and kind of stay out of their hair. It's kind of like I wasn't here, so maybe it wasn't.
It was more so. 1 second ago, when I talked about the frustration of having him present but not being able to help, it was more because he was out here, like in the living room with Corin, but he just basically sat there and studied when Corin was being incredibly fussy, and it would get frustrating sometimes. It's not Ethan's fault, but I'm just saying that having you kind of away and study.
I mean, like she said, so the study period was busy. I studied about 6 days a week. Usually try to get started around 8:30 in the morning, and would go till 6, stop for basically 2 hours. So we'd play with Corin for a bit, have dinner, get ready for bed, and then we'd basically, I just would hang out in bed and just continue studying for a few more hours after that, just to wrap some things up. It was definitely, I expected it to be busy. It was busier, but it was busier than I thought it would be, and I'm glad it's over.
What all did you use to study?
So I'd start off in the morning with 2 blocks of UWorld questions, and then I would read first aid and watch Pathoma videos in the afternoon, and then would kind of finish that up in the evening. As probably the most helpful thing that I did was as I progressed through the UWorld questions, I kept a running list on my computer of questions and concepts that I had gotten wrong or wanted to see again, and basically just tried to review that as much as possible, to try and sort of make my weaknesses my strengths. And I think that paid off. It definitely took more time and effort, but that helped a lot. That was pretty much it. I tried to use some farm cards. Those didn't last very long. There was just too much.
It was just too much.
One thing I did use was a website called cramfighter.com, and it basically just lets you kind of plug in the resources you want to use, and then it assigns you if you want to study by subject, it'll tell you what pages to read each day in first aid or what videos to watch in Pathoma, and that was really helpful for me. People can you can make your own schedule, but it was just nice to have something done that I didn't have to think about, and I was just able to kind of run through a list and check stuff off each day. And know that, for this day I'm done, and can go to sleep now and wake up and do it all over again. But that was a really helpful resource. Other than that, it's really just about, I think, picking a couple of good resources and spending as many hours as possible with them before the test. It's really just about putting in the time. If you've gotten through the first 2 years, it's definitely doable. It's just a matter of not even necessarily mastering the material, but becoming a heck of a lot more familiar with it as a whole than you were before. But yeah, I'm glad it's over. I've kind of not thought about it for the past 3 weeks.
We put that behind us.
Yeah. Test day,
Did it take you about 8 hours? I can't remember.
Yeah, so the test is scheduled for about 8 hours. I finished maybe a half hour early. They give you a limited amount of break time that you can kind of distribute as you see fit throughout the test day, but if you finish a block early, there's 7 blocks. If you finish a block early, you can distribute that time however you like, pretty much. And I ended up finishing each block about maybe 15-20 minutes early, so I had plenty of break time throughout the day, which was nice. The biggest thing was just, I think, fatigue management. I tried to take a little bit of a break between each block, even if it was just sitting at my desk for 5 minutes with my eyes closed, just thinking about nothing, because you definitely, by the 3rd and 4th block, you could feel the fatigue catching you, and that's an easy way to miss questions. Yeah, and I was pretty done by the time I came home that night.
You were. Slur words and.
Yeah, that was bad. But it's over, and we've had 3 weeks off, which has been glorious. And I think it'll be good to get started on 3rd year and see what that's all about.
Yeah. And I forgot to add one thing. I was kind of talked about this in in last year's video as well, but I kind of saved up some hobby type things to do when Ethan was studying, because I knew that he would probably be studying at night as well. So I saved Corin's 1-year baby book to do while Ethan was studying at night, so I got that done. There was just some other things, I can't even remember. I read some, caught up on some shows, and just figured out little hobby type things to do that would keep me busy while Ethan was constantly studying at night. So there you have it. It's a short little update on the past year of our life. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. I will also have the video that we made last year on being married in the first year of med school up down below. And so if you want to, you can check that out. But other than that, we'll just see you next time. Bye.